guys, FSC, Fast Jack Speed and Custom Shop. We got a pretty exciting video for you today. We're gonna go ahead and get in the expedition and we're gonna drive down to Illinois. We're going car shopping, kinda. Well, in reality, we're more like just setting goals to eventually buy a car. Today is a sponsored video, sponsored by my girlfriend Jennifer, actually. Separate from what I do at my shop and this here channel, my girlfriend has a separate deal with Arbonne. Now, you're probably asking, okay, what is that? The idea here is simple. I'm 41 years old right now, almost 42, and I'm a bit heavy. I've been on this diet, for lack of a better term, for about 2 weeks, and I've lost 6 pounds. It's really easy, it's really simple, and for you guys to drive trucks out there that follow me, even if you're a busy, hectic schedule, it's really easy to do. It's basic. All we're doing on the diet side of things is basically meal replacement. We're getting rid of your breakfast, we're getting rid of your lunch. And so they, oh my God, you're gonna starve to death. No, not really. See, what I do for breakfast, I'm getting ready to do right now, is I make these shakes. Now this one I made last night, I like them cold. So what I do is I make them the night prior and I put them in the refrigerator. With that being said, this is my breakfast. It's just a protein shake. I don't remember what flavor it was, but what I do is I put everything in it in the morning. You drink your shake in the morning, and then when you're done with that, you take a healthy snack with you. So between your breakfast shake and your lunch shake, you have a healthy snack. I tend to eat like these protein bars, get apples or grapes or whatever I can find. You drink your lunch shake, and again, between lunch and dinner, you take another healthy snack. Again, protein bar, apple, whatever. That's usually what I do. And then dinner, well, that's the best part. You still eat your normal dinner. You don't have to, I mean, you can cut down on your dinner if you like. The best part is, since I've been drinking the shakes for breakfast and lunch, by the time dinner comes around, my stomach actually feels like it shrank some. In other words, I can't eat. I literally can't do it. I cannot eat the amount I used to eat for dinner. I literally eat maybe half to 3/4 of what I used to eat, and then I'm full. And that's a good feeling, you know, when you're getting done with a hard day of work, what have you, and you eat a good meal, and you didn't even eat that much, and you still feel satisfied from that. So in the end, I'm eating a heck of a lot less than I used to, and I'm getting healthier in the process. So with that being said, let's get ahead, get my breakfast shake down, and go ahead and get on with the day. Now I'm ready to start the day. It's literally like 30 degrees out right now, but it's actually supposed to get up into the 40s today, and we're heading south, so it should be warmer down in Illinois. Alright, we have arrived at DeLorean Midwest. Not a very big place, think about it. How many cars do you think they actually have here?
Feels like summertime.
Comparatively speaking, it does feel like summertime. So we got Mike leading us through the shop here.
Hi there. So yeah, so this is the main shop. Jason is our main tech. He's been with us probably 8 years or so. He's the main guy doing all the repairs out here. So we've got 3 lifts, and we usually have anywhere from 20 to 30 cars in at a time, and this is about half of them because we have another unit next door where we just store cars. All the work gets done in this shop.
Let me ask you a question, because obviously there's internet lore about it. I noticed you have one painted red.
Yep.
What is the truth behind the few painted DeLoreans that are running around?
Well, this car was painted by the dealership that sold it, so the factory did not paint any cars. They had no paint booth. They actually saved about a third in the cost of building a shop because all the parts that needed to be painted, like the bumpers do have paint, came in to the factory for assembly painted. But this car was painted by a dealership in Ohio that was owned by John's brother. So it was sold new with this candy apple red paint on it, and it also had a twin turbo aftermarket package put on it. So.
Yeah, what I heard was or at least a common thing I've read on the internet, was the painted ones had body damage, and since they were very difficult to repair body damage on them.
This particular dealership painted probably, I'm guessing, 2 to 3 dozen cars. And so the nice thing about that is if you have documentation, you know there is not body damage underneath this one. But a lot of painted cars, that is one of the reasons that it decreases the value of the car, because it could have body damage underneath, and because, you know, most buyers want their DeLorean to look stainless.
I think I've seen this car on the internet before, like this particular one.
You may, there's a few that are this candy apple. This is the only one I know of that's got the stripe and the twin turbo.
This is still original paint, or has it been redone?
It's original. Yep. So this gloss is holding up pretty well.
Very cool. This one, the frame's pulled out of. Babe, this is what I was trying to tell you in the car. The frames are steel. Now that's just regular fiberglass, the body of the actual. Because what would you call that then? Not the frame, the frame's down
we
here.
call it the tub. Or
the tub.
Or the underbody.
And that's fiberglass.
That's all fiberglass.
And all the exterior is stainless with the exception of the bumpers front and rear.
Yep. And that tub runs from the front bumper all the way back to the rear bumper. The seats and interior are all bolted to it, as is the exterior stainless panels. Are all attached to that fiberglass underbody.
I have never seen one that easily available, or accessible, I should say.
Yeah, this one's pretty far apart. It'll probably be back together within another week. So we've got this one pretty fully assembled. All the drivelines back in it, the brakes are all on it, the suspension's all put back together, and it's getting really close to putting the body back onto the car. We're just going to do some finished cleanup, and probably this week we'll make the body back to the car.
So just telling a story about the one that I saw in Indiana, which is the first one I ever saw close up. This guy had 3. He's pretty sure he knows the guy. Anyways, in Indiana, he had 3 of them for sale at the time. One was in pretty sorry shape for a lot cheaper than I would think one would go for. And then he had 2 of them. One was his friend's and one was his. And I don't remember which was which. One had a gas flap and the other had this side stripe going down here. So we'll explain what I'm even talking about.
So about roughly the first 2,000 cars would have had a hood like this, where they call it a gas flap hood. All cars have the fuel filler in the same location. This one has a hood so you can fill it without opening the hood. The hood opens this way, and on cars without a hood, you just open the hood to fill the fuel. After those first 2,000, the balance of the 81s would have had what we call a line hood. So same hood, it still has these pleats or lines in it, so we call those a line hood. And then the 1982 and 1983 cars should have come with a flat hood like this, and then they added the DeLorean emblem. So those are the 3 variations, and in order of how they came out the factory. First it was the gas flap with lines, then the lined only, and then the flat hood.
I wonder why they got rid of the gas flap. You'd think it'd be a pain in the neck to open the hood to gas up your car.
Well, I really think it was mainly just a cost savings, and that's why both transitions, they saved some by not punching the flap, and then they saved some more by not doing the pleats.
But then they added the emblem.
I mean, there was there was a percentage of hoods when they stamped them with the flap that would get ruined, and have to, if they didn't get punched just right, they'd have to scrap the hood. The other noticeable thing about early cars, and we can see if this one has it, is they usually had dark wheels. So they would have gray wheels that match the same color as the fascia. This car hasn't, you can see that it's like a dark gray wheel, and they usually had gray center caps. And then they thought these wheels looked dirty, so they changed out to a silver wheel. That was not the same color, obviously, as the bumpers anymore.
And then on the bottom of the trunk or frunk, however you want to call it, is a donut wheel, which I guess that's the spare for
That's a small spare.
that car.
Yep. This is actually a pretty nice car. That this is a 3,500 mile car that's original down to the NCT tires. So pretty much everything you see on this car.
NCT tires. Explain that one, please.
So good. They were Goodyear NCTs, and this has the tires that would have rolled out of the factory with. Still in good shape. You know, I wouldn't recommend highway speeds and long distances on these tires, but they don't seem to have much dry rot, cracking, or anything on them.
Man, I'd be scared to death riding around on a 30-some-year-old tire.
Yeah, you definitely want to limit your use on those, but they're, you know, they really should be for display only.
Yeah, I would say. I've had bad luck with tires from improper storage. There's a certain motorhome caper on the side of the Ohio Turnpike I'll tell you about one day. Two flat tires in 30 miles.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we would be turned into a service call. So what do you have here that's for sale? Like, what's if you came here with cash to buy a car, what do you have and what is available and how much?
Showing you here is for sale. This is, like I said, a 3,500 mile car. It's a really nice original shape. And we would go through it and get it running, and this one is probably priced in the mid-40s.
Get it running, meaning it doesn't run now.
It doesn't run currently, but included in the price would be we would go through the entire fuel system and get it running.
Oh, the battery's behind the passenger seat.
Yep.
The thing with the doors, getting the doors open,
Yeah.
the clearance is actually less, correct,
Oh, yeah.
than a regular
You only
door?
need 14 inches of clearance to open a door. So you can see, with the exception of this one we moved today, even as close as all these cars are, you can easily get this door open. You got probably close to 6 inches of room there. So.
Yeah, because people thought like if you pull too close to a gas pump or you're stuck in your car, it's like, no, you don't need that much space.
Especially compared to a two-door car with long doors, you need a lot less space with
Oh,
these.
my Cougar, you need like 1,000,000 miles.
I've got some F-body Camaros and Firehawks that are really bad.
Now, this isn't going to transfer at all on camera, but it actually smells nice in here. Like it doesn't have that old car smell.
We get that a lot.
Actually smells quite nice.
This one's, you know, and this is what we like to buy and sell. This is one tells a story that this car has always been garaged and cared for. Not driven very sparingly with only the 3,500 miles. But a lot of these sometimes will smell musty because they've been stored in a damp environment, or they have some sun damage, which this thing seems to have escaped any length of time out in the sun where it would have faded the paint or split the interior or anything like that.
So this is on the higher end of what you have for sale.
And this is typically, I mean, anything we sell is typically going to be 30 to 60, depending on, the three factors we look at is mileage, cosmetic condition, and then mechanical condition, which I basically want to see repair receipts over the last 10 years that can affect value if services have been done or not. We do sell cars on consignment, and a lot of times cars come in and the story will change. They'll come in for service, and then they'll wind up selling the car. Maybe the service is too expensive, or they have some life issue that they decide to sell it while it's here. So we have all kinds of stories like that of we're always kind of changing inventory of cars we're buying and selling.
All right, we'll have to talk about that off camera because, like I said, the whole reason I'm down here is to do my research as to what condition of car I want to buy, and whether I buy something that needs a lot of work and do it myself, or just jump into something turnkey that I don't have to work on.
Right.
Which that's definitely not normal for me, but it would be a welcome change. So the factory engines like this right here, V6 obviously,
Yep.
140 horsepower,
130.
130.
Yep.
Well, obviously somebody's been working on the fuel injection on this one.
Yeah, this one actually had an engine replacement. So, you know, if you look, the intake's new and on down through the heads, but this is actually a replacement engine. It looks a little grubby because the airbox and air conditioner have not been redone, and this is, you know, a bit of a rough car. It still has some work to be done to make this nice, but it is, you know, a nice runner, and that is still something that's available. It's nice that we still have crate motors. Factory never fired.
Really? How much are those worth?
They're going in the 9,000 something range. So they're on the Texas website. I believe they have to be dealer installed, so you cannot have one shipped directly to you because they want them done at a DMC facility. But I believe they're 9,300, somewhere in that range.
I was watching a video, a guy down in Kansas, I think, around Kansas City here. He bought one, he claims unexpectedly, at a auction.
Oh, yeah.
Had an automatic transmission,
Long trans. Yeah.
and they took the pan down, and it didn't move at all, I should say. They took the pan down, put new fluid in, and put it back together. It would move, but horribly. His issue was rebuilding the transmission. Where do you get parts for that automatic transmission? Because he was saying they're practically not available other than some kind of oddball European motorhome.
Yeah, there are rebuild kits that are a little bit hard to find out there. What mainly goes wrong with them, what may have been his issue, was the computer governor. What goes bad, the shift governor. And we have a remade computer governor on modern electronics. It's made with a modern fiberglass board because the originals have just deteriorated to the point where they really should all be replaced on automatics.
Hang on, automatic transmission, electronic controlled shifting, not mechanical hydraulic governor.
Yep. Well,
wow.
There's basically a speed governor that controls the hydraulic solenoids that control the two shift points. So the automatics in these are a 3-speed automatic, so they have 2 shift solenoids.
So I'm thinking like an old school Chevy, which is just pure mechanical, everything hydraulically governed.
No, these basically have a governor that sees throttle, the throttle position and input speed, and it shifts based on those two. And those electronics are on a board that usually tends to warp and just go bad, and then you get stuck with it not shifting, and you might be stuck in like a third gear. You could be stuck in first, second, or third.
Conversions. If you were converting an automatic transmission to a standard shift, is it possible? Recommended? Yes or no?
My recommendation would be buy the transmission you want. Yeah. Just
So
because there's certain parts like the pedal box to go to. Most people are trying to go from an automatic to a manual. The pedal box for a manual is unavailable, and there's quite a few pieces that are going to be hard to source. It can be done, but it's probably going to be more cost effective to find the car that you want, find the right transmission that you're going to want to keep.
Right. And I imagine most people prefer to stick shift nowadays.
Yeah, I don't really see a value difference in the cars based on the transmission. The factory built roughly 2/3 manual transmissions and 1/3 automatic. And that's really the demand we still see today. Is about 2/3 of our buyers want a manual transmission on a classic like this, and about 1/3 want an automatic transmission. So that's not something I say automatics are worth more or less.
It's just a preference of the buyer.
It's just a preference. Yeah.
Now, options for interior back then, there was black and gray. That was pretty much it, wasn't it?
That was it. There were 2 basic options where you could get black or gray interior, and you could get 5-speed manual or a 3-speed automatic. The rest of it for the 80s came pretty loaded. They all had leather interior, air conditioning, power windows, power locks, cassette.
I'll say it's got the original cassette tape in it still. And the dash isn't cracked either.
No, it's another one that's been kept out of the sun.
Yeah, that part right there usually cracks from what I understand.
Yeah, the binnacle and the dash, if you leave them out in the sun, they'll start to crack.
Can she get in it? See how she fits in there? Go ahead and get in there.
Figured you might want to get into it.
I will, but I gotta hold the camera. See, you're short. Another thing I seen on different documentaries is John DeLorean was pretty tall, but even he still had a hard time getting a hold of that grab handle. So they had to put the little strap hanger down there.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, you can't even reach that.
No.
Well, here, we'll just let it go. Here, we'll let Jen sit in the car. Say hi, baby. And this window is the only part that rolls down.
Yep. Good for throwing change at the toll booth back in the day, I guess.
Well, you're not getting through Burger King drive-through with that.
No, you just, the nice thing is in the drive-through, I usually just open the doors completely because they don't need a lot of room.
Yeah, I guess this is no taller. It's no taller than the Expedition I came in. So yeah, you just roll up with the door open.
Yeah.
So do you own one of these?
I've owned several of them. I did, you know, my personal car I sold 6 years ago when we purchased this building. So.
All right, so we're gonna try getting in it again because we had the seat too far forward and the wheel down and out. It was set up for Jen. We should have did that with her first.
The way I usually recommend getting in these, especially on the driver's side, is just sit your butt first and then swing your legs in.
Okay.
You gotta watch on these. A lot of people will sit on this armrest extension and it'll break off on a bunch of cars.
All right, sit in first without sitting on the armrest. Much better. Gotta have the shades for the effect. All right. And believe it or not, there's a lot more room in here than you think. A guy my size, obviously have to hold the door open. This hasn't been repaired yet. But a guy my size fits in the car quite comfortably. This foot is completely stretched out. There's a spot next to the clutch, to the left of the clutch, that I can just rest my feet in there ultra comfortably. As far as hitting the brake, stepping on the gas, that's pretty easy for me. As far as the gas though, my knee's up a touch, but that's by no means uncomfortable at all. It's obviously not a big car. I mean, we drove in a Ford Expedition. This is obviously much smaller, but for a dude my size, this is not. For a dude my size, this by no means is uncomfortable. It's got nice, I mean, the position of holding the wheel's pretty good. That's just right there where you just instinctually grab it. It's not one of those goofy knobs. It's actually a for real shifter. You fit comfortably. You do feel a little head room issue, but
You can notice there's a little cutout.
that's what the cutout's for.
For the taller guys, for sure.
So yeah, it's definitely a different feel of sitting in a car compared to what I'm used to driving. But how tall was John DeLorean? He was what?
I think he's like 6'4".
He was big dude.
Yeah,
Like I said,
he's a tall guy.
he couldn't reach this easy, so the answer was to build this in. I thought the originals they just looped it there.
They did. Yep, that was a later ad where they did the integrated on the rear side of that panel.
Cool. That is definitely different when you're used to shutting a door to pull the door down and open it to push it up. That definitely feels different. All right, so for me to grab the handle's pretty easy. And there we are, sitting in the DeLorean. I like that. Just an easy grab for shifting. And then to get out, you pull that, and up you go. That'll take some getting used to. And I'm imagining to get out, you just reverse the process, right?
Thanks first. Yep. And that's the place to, usually right here is the place to pull to give yourself a little extra.
Okay. Getting out of my mother's car, I got in a bad habit, I guess, wrap my arm on the door and prying out.
Yeah. This is probably the best part. Some guys will, if you pull up on the steering wheel, there's a bushing where it goes through the firewall that you'll mess up. And then the thing I'm paranoid about windshields is on cars that have been left out in the sun, these can get brittle, and this is fiberglass. So if you yank on this a bunch, you could wind up cracking the windshield.
Ooh, yeah.
But right here, you're really good down there on either side.
Right, yeah, it's more sturdy right down here.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Cool, note to self, that's how you get in and out of a DeLorean.
Yep.
Awesome. And the trunk, or frunk, however you want to call it.
So the first thing you want to do is replace the door strut, and if that doesn't get the door to open properly, it may need adjustment of the torsion bar, which is a little more involved. You kind of tell that one has pretty low mileage on it because it's relatively white.
Smaller wheels to the front than the rear, or is this one modified?